Yeah, at that point I needed a designer. I was like, geez, I think I like compared my drawing to someone else's drawing. I'm like, geez, this could be a lot better if I just like had someone that knew how to do drafting.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your fond early memories of this?
Oh, let's see.
There's got to be something that sticks out. There's gonna be a good story about that.
Oh, there's a couple.
All right, I'm here today with the longest running employee of MAK Construction. Today we are going to be talking about all things pre-construction. That's where this guy's life lives, and anything from designing something to estimating something to getting the project rolled over into execution mode. So Zach Scott, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a long time you've been here. It's probably changed a little bit from the day one we started.
A little bit, yeah. Things have switched up here and there.
Yeah, and so the pre-construction life, I know you've lived this is almost 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years and a couple months. So
wow,
it's
yeah, man, that's awesome. So I didn't even think I was going to make it in business for 10 years. So I'm grateful to even be sitting here with you, both of us. So yeah, what's some of the things that you work to? We are in springtime, North Dakota, so everything bids right now.
Yep.
And for a summer execution type, because we have seasonal conditions in North Dakota. Yeah. So what's some of the stuff you're working on? What are you doing right now?
So we just got off hopefully our biggest bid week of the year. Typically, everybody in construction, their off season is from January till early April, and that's kind of our go time. So, yeah, right now we're working on anywhere from 3 to 8 bids a week, pushing out as much as we can here. Hopefully, trying to fill up our year. Anywhere from design build to random government projects, design bid build, city, state, private, all sorts of stuff. So
yeah. So I would feel like people like this is a smaller market, I would consider.
Yeah.
Where you have to be multifaceted in a lot of things. Like we don't just bid one thing. Like in bigger towns, they just get good at like concrete or good at, steel erection or good at managing strip mall projects.
Yeah.
It's like
no, and that's the crazy part about this is we are so multifaceted. We, if it's anything commercial construction or multifamily, we've kind of grown into that, and that's, our niche, which you're exactly right. It's such a broadband, genre of construction compared to most companies in, larger metro areas. We're kind of
right.
We do it all.
Yeah.
We still say we do it all. So.
There's not enough people here. It's like, what is there, 700,000 in North Dakota?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, there's towns with 700,000 that.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty big state if you look at it on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we get North Dakota. That's a state.
Well, and it's crazy because, even just branching out of Grand Forks, it's a little bit of a learning curve, starting to bid in Fargo, and we actually bid a larger project this week where, it's completely different worlds bidding, in one town or one small region versus as you start to move south and towards larger populations. It's just everything is so fast paced. There's so many different contractors, and everybody still knows everybody.
Yeah.
It's the options are limitless.
Yeah. So walk me through one of these bids real quick, because this is like a glorified like shit show. Like this is like, I just remember back in the day, it's just like, there's a lot of shit happening at the last minutes. Why? And like, so how do you set yourself up for success walking into maybe a bid you did last week, maybe bids just how you normally set them up? So,
and they're all a little different, but, I'll use the one we did this week as an example. It's a ton of pre-planning, and I've told a few people this now. It's kind of like just going to practice before a game. The last 24 hours that unfortunately the game is 24 hours long, so it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Even though it feels like a 24-hour sprint. But getting your invitation to bid out, attending any and every pre-bid conference meeting that the architect or owner offers.
So project comes to you where you find it, you found it somewhere, right? Like, is it, or did you just get invited to these things?
So this one, we actually had the architect reach out. We're starting to see that a little bit more and more. There's still, I mean, we're a part of, I think 3, 4, 5 different, it's like builders and traders, bid exchanges, all that type of thing.
So this is just where jobs live.
Yeah.
And contractors can pluck out which ones they like.
Yep.
And don't like.
There's, like Quest CDN, Construction Data Network, is a huge resource that we have.
Okay.
It's kind of becoming the centralized hub of where projects lives from the architects, you know.
Is that nationwide or is that?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So
that's
that's
a nationwide. Yep.
Quest, what is it?
Quest CDN is the website.
Okay.
And it's becoming like the kind of almost the national standard, and it's really nice in that aspect because you get to see who you're bidding against, you get to see potential subcontractors. You know, it's a little bit more data than you used to see in the local markets.
Okay.
And you know, that's kind of the earliest stages of it. But then going out and, you know, this is kind of where the legwork comes in, or the practice is, you know, you can send out an invitation to bid, but unfortunately your call log becomes extremely long, and you know, the next 3 to 5 days, because you reach out to hundreds of people.
So what does that look like? So the project's in, you put it out a request for bid, you're calling it.
Yep.
And so like, is that software based for you, or are you like calling everybody?
It's still, you know, and I am not sure if it's a regional thing or, you know, again, the North Dakota piece, but we started to implement Procore as not only our project management software, but our pre-construction software as well. Okay. And you could send out the invite to bid, and that's where our database of subcontractors is housed. But you still, you know, still reaching out to every single person that you really want to bid from and trying to gain knowledge of local subs. Like this Fargo thing was interesting because you can, and it's something as simple as a Google search half the time of, you know, I need 3 more drywall guys, you know, just to have some, you know.
You need bids to be competitive.
Yeah, you need competitive numbers, and you need to, you know, the depth of each division is, you know, depending on the category key. Because I mean, if they're $2 million of the bid, you know, hopefully you have more than one answer for that.
Right. And so you're posting on your Procore system, you're outlaying saying, hey, request for bid, here's the project that we're gonna probably bid prime on or something. And if you don't outreach to enough people, like, is that list live within Procore, or is that something that you have to build over time?
It's something you build over time, but it's all, you know, once you, like this week especially, I think we added 12 different subcontractors just to gain, you know, all random people that we reached out to and just said, hey, are you bidding? You know, and depending on where the conversation goes, they'll just say, yeah, please add me to your bidders list and for future.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's, so anyway, you got everyone out there, and if you feel light in a category, you start attacking, whether it's drywall, paint, concrete, or whatever you're light in.
Anything and everything.
Glazing. So, okay.
Yeah.
So is there any, what happens if you don't have any in a category? That's happened before. We're in North Dakota. We don't get 4 in each category.
So that's
what's the challenge with that?
You know, it's the rule to live and die by, and I hate it and I love it at the same time. And that is simply be a pack rat. So I have bids from, it's tough as through COVID and all the garbage there. You know, prices have changed dramatically, so inflation and whatnot. You know, it's hard to use some past data, but I keep every bid within the last 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So if you do, you know, if you come to that point where hopefully you're never there, but it does always happen, some random category, you're pulling out a bid from the past, and you call that subcontractor and say, hey, how do you feel?
Wow. So you got to rely on history a little bit.
Yeah, that... you know, it's historical data is something that it was actually a key talking point at a conference I went to last summer, building that network. And just a backlog of simple data that, you know, there's going to be a time where everybody needs to come down to a gut check and is that based on accurate numbers or not? So,
Gotcha. Wow. So that's intense. So you're collecting all these bids now. So you get to the time, like what's like the 24-hour race? Because like this is how many days in advance would you even get the project? Like what's the whole timeline?
so typically it's 2 weeks from
Okay.
project release to bid date, depending on the number of addenda added and if bid date changes or something, there's a hiccup. I mean, it's all variable. Most architects, engineers, they're nice enough to where you get a 24, 48-hour heads up, preferably 72, but I've seen addenda be issued on bid day, and it's never fun. But
So what's an addenda?
it's a change of plans, specs. Basically, someone was reviewing the plans, pricing the project, and they found something that's either incorrect or isn't possible, doesn't
Gotcha.
meet standards, so on and so forth.
Changing the scope or clarifying the
clarifying
scope of the job.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I just needed to clarify that for the audience. That's kind of a long word.
Yeah.
It's longer than we typically contractors use, you know.
So
It's usually just all the specific 4-letter words.
yep. Yeah.
But yeah, that's okay. So 2 weeks to bid it. So you should get all your bids within a week.
Oh yeah.
And then just be able to just kind of
yeah,
relax.
you're coasting. Yeah.
Is that
No.
that's how it goes?
Oh, I wish. No. Let's see. The one.
So you close in on a week. What happens in the first week? Nothing?
Yeah, pretty much. It goes out to bidders, and I hate to say it, but I've done it too for our concrete division, where you see, oh, it's due in 2 weeks. That's next week's problem.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying that happens a lot with everybody, but I know even yesterday, prime example, our bid came down to 2 hours before, and not a single electrical sub had a material number or equipment number. So all the supply houses are still out trying to get bids for them to get to us, and
Wow.
the chain effect happens where bids do it too, and it's 12:59 and you have no electrical bids yet. So yeah.
You still bid the job, even though, if you don't, like, you got to use your history to figure out, okay.
Yes and no. You never want to do that. Most times, just like yesterday, they come through in the last hour, but the
last hour.
Yeah, normally that's,
Jeez.
if you turn in a bid at, 1:35 and it's due at 2 and you're casually strolling into the building, something didn't go right.
Right. Well,
it's too easy.
Yeah, I remember doing this with you, and it would be like, okay, bids due at 2 or something,
Yep.
and then you're like, shit, I almost prefer it's a morning one, because then they get the bids to you sooner. But like some of the guys, I swear, like worked on the bid that morning.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, we want to bid this.
No, we had a $6 million one. What was that, Wednesday? And yeah, due at 11 a.m. I mean, we were still getting bids until 10:30.
Wow.
So it's the day of is never fun. It's as we've grown here, we call it the war room.
Oh.
And that's where you
shit goes down.
Yeah, you lock 4 people in a room and you're reviewing every shred of paper that
wow
is involved in that.
So
project.
this is like the coffee's rolling that day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a caffeinated fueled
and everyone's on the
show.
edge of their seat. Because I remember you and I doing this back, this was a while ago, but a few years ago, we would lock down and try to check over everything, and
Yep.
bids are laying on the floor and stuck to the wall in groupings, and
Yep.
you're just trying to collect and identify what's missing, really,
Yeah.
in a short amount of time.
And that's a lot of it is, like I said, the pre-planning. So, typically the day before, bid forms are laying on the table, half filled out minus final numbers. You organize all your bids by division, like you said. Nothing's really changed there. Print off every addendum issued just to make sure that you have the most accurate data. Just really a lot of organizing, and
Wow.
it's a lot of hurry up and wait, unfortunately.
So you're like as prepared as you can get, but you still know the rampage of bids are coming in.
In the back of your mind, and that's where, they always say three bids per division guaranteed. Well, half the time you always want that at a minimum, but you get the guys who fall off at the last minute or something changes or, so
you think the bid's coming, it never comes.
Oh yeah.
Or it comes at 10:30 and the
bids goes down to 3 or, 4 bids goes to 2 and.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So aggravating because you need to compile your numbers, which where does this live then? Like when you're entering all these numbers somewhere, are you like, is it a spreadsheet? Is it Procore? Like how does it work?
Yeah.
How's it work?
Everybody's a little different. You go to a conference and they'll preach, some sort of software. Right now we're still on an Excel sheet, just, hyper refined. I think it's revision from when you and I started. I think it's revision 8 or 9. I don't even want to know anymore. Oh God.
But, it's the thing that never stops changing.
Yeah. Which is good. It's always a little more dialed in, and it goes down to, you enter, basically all your bids by the CSI cost codes, just master formats. So, it's basically material, labor, subcontractor, nothing really.
Gotcha.
Pretty standard
So
system.
you compile it quickly, identify either your low bidder or the bidder that's most complete probably, or.
Yeah. And that's where, it's always nice. And, normally you'll have 1, possibly 2 numbers per category, early on in the day of, so you can go through, read through bids, just kind of make a mental note of any exclusions they have or the random stuff,
Yep.
The one-off deals where, okay, you throw $500 at this for whatever.
Got it. Do you, so bid time, is this just an email that's got to get pushed by 2? Is 2 a hard deadline? Or are they?
It's all over the place.
Are they gracious with you?
A lot of people, no, it's very much a dead set cutoff.
So if it's 2:05,
it's a no-go.
You
lose out on that one. So,
oh God.
Yeah. It's,
make you cry.
It's happened before and it's never fun. And you got any good stories of, a late bid? The only,
maybe I don't even want to know about.
Oh, the only big one about, that was 3, 4, 5 years ago. I can't remember. We had a school one due where I was about an hour and a half away, and
bid opening was at the school.
Yeah, bid opening.
2 hours away.
2 hours. I think an hour and a half. But,
okay.
Driving through a snowstorm and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 40 miles an hour when you're supposed to be doing 70, and.
Watching the bid time just approach.
As you're driving slower and the clock ticks on, it's disheartening as hell. But
I think that's when we move to the keep one guy on site.
Yep.
With 3 forms that are half filled out, and then keep one guy just locked and loaded in the office.
Is what we did this week with our Fargo bid, and it works out slick when it's that way. And it's unfortunately one of those things where it happens. And
there's got to be a better way.
So
there has to be a better way to do this. Like, what happens if our bid for this school was $400,000 lighter because it was the perfect job?
Which is hilarious because it was. We were actually low bid on that one. I went in there and just said, hey, I'm 15 minutes late.
Right.
Look outside. Tell me. I can tell you where I'm coming from. Obviously, it doesn't matter what time I leave. I was still going to be late,
Who identifies this process? Is this the architect? Is this is this how we do stuff when we bid projects? Or no. I get the hard time deadline.
Exactly.
I do, because it keeps them accountable.
Yeah.
Everyone. But the process is
yeah.
The school could have saved, if a bid turned in at 202, could have saved them $400,000 and a $2 million job, then
for sure.
Sure makes a lot of sense.
No, and that's where one handy thing about COVID, at least on our side of things, is the fact that some bids have switched to digital. So they do a secure email, or there's different websites now where you can submit your bids to. It's a secure database where no one can view it prior to 2:00.
Okay.
It's still a public opening via Zoom.
Gotcha.
It's really handy for us because then you take out that component of, you have the right number. You just logistically could not get there in time. And that's the part that, is super
So you couldn't have called them and said it's blizzarding out.
Oh, yeah. But the hilarious part about this is, depending on the type of bid, this happened this week where you are not allowed to call the architect 24 hours prior. Yeah, so because any information given to you at that point, and some people, there's a little bit of legal, jargon behind that to support them. But I understand the unfair advantage piece, because potentially if they slip up and say something, you're like, oh, okay, well, that, jot down 10 grand less. But yeah, in the case of I need to get this bid to you and there's no physical way that's happening, unfortunately, they just don't care.
Probably get with the times is what I would tell those people.
Yeah, yep. Or, like the
electronic
the random location.
We'll send you a fax.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Do you ever get a fax bid in?
Oh, I've had multiple people ask me for that before, but I don't think
this shit only happens in
I don't
North
think
Dakota. I don't know.
I don't think we could even receive one if we tried. But
yeah, you're trying to download some app that can receive a fax.
Oh no! Instead, don't worry. You get the handwritten bid with a picture texted to you.
Oh yes,
those are my favorite.
That's electronic method.
Those are my favorite.
Did he sign it? Is it good?
Oh, yeah.
Is it good? I don't know. He wrote down a number. It looks good though. We got to roll with it.
Yep.
I think he gets the scope.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it's just like a little bit like gambling, a little bit. And,
it is,
and it's like, do you know perfectly that where the A contractor stops is where the B? You know what I mean? Is there any gaps? Because I'm sure there's always a gap.
And that's where I almost like multiple prime bidding. So there's single prime, which is, we're a general contractor. You are the one and only person responsible for this. A lot of government, city, state, local bids have all switched over to general construction, mechanical construction, and electrical construction.
Okay.
Which plus or minus takes out some of that risk, because it's like, okay, you got a 2-year job and you didn't see that the electrician forgot to add the temp lighting. Well, shit, there goes $5,000,
Oh, got it.
The simple things like that.
Yep. Gotcha. Well, that's, hopefully that's helpful a little bit for the listener on walking you through a bid day.
Yeah.
And I thought it's always a high, emotion, high freaking flying day.
Yeah.
All the time. And I know you're in the middle of it, so.
It's intense, and that's what it's, on the better bids, it's actually kind of fun. The ones where bid day and you got a blank sheet, you're typically a little high strung, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't have a lot to write down here, but I'm going to try and go high here.
But if it's, honestly, if I walk into a day, if it's due at 2:00 and I'm 60-70% filled out, I feel pretty comfortable.
Wow. Yeah. So. Well, there you go. There's your pre-construction bid day. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I know we could go a lot deeper on this, but how the hell did you end up in something called pre-construction or drafting, and why that, or what's your story as a child, and kind of bring us up to date?
Yeah. So originally I was born in Pittsburgh. My dad's side's from out there, and then my mom's side is actually from the Twin Cities area. So grew up early part of my life in Pittsburgh, and then moved to Northfield, Minnesota, just south of Twin Cities. So finished up school there. I went to high school there, and then came.
What'd you do in high school? Did you do any jobs? How did you figure out pounding nails, or I don't know what you did to figure out?
It's kind of always been a thing. My dad and his buddies did random side jobs. My grandpa was huge into woodworking, so it's kind of always been a thing in my life. But,
okay.
Wasn't super crazy about it. And then I actually went to school for aviation at UND for a couple of years before.
Oh,
so
you weren't in pre-construction?
No,
your whole life,
I was completely,
you weren't born and told yourself.
Yeah. So I just started, randomly started getting out of aviation. Wasn't really sure what the hell I was going to do with my life at that point. I worked at Menards throughout high school and into college, so I was still around contractors enough to, always have it a little bit of part of my life, and did some random home rental stuff for our landlord throughout college. So
okay,
it was always it was always present in my life, just never kind of a priority.
Gotcha.
And then one summer I went home and was down in the cities, worked for a high-end home builder, and just randomly said, okay, well, hell, this sounds fun. It's easy enough. It was just doing exteriors on houses. So they kind of broke up, the house building process that way. These were $1 million homes. So I was the siding, I was in charge of siding and roofing, just basically PMing that.
The color and the whatever,
just
get the material there.
Get material there, line up the crews, kind of manage that piece of it. And I did that for a summer, and then after that, I was kind of hooked.
Huh.
So,
look at that.
Yeah.
But you still went into aviation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the other. So really, it's...
So let's talk about that then.
That was always so my dad's, he was an airplane mechanic and now does like aircraft maintenance management.
Okay. So maybe that's the aviation attraction side of things.
We grew up staring at freaking runways, watching planes land at airports all the time. So that was kind of always a hook for me.
Got it.
Quickly realized that, at the time, aviation was slow. Pilots were not getting jobs, and I paid my own.
What year was this?
This was like 2009.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, great time.
Yeah, so
a great time.
Middle
of the recession.
My flight instructor at the time, he was like 26 years old, trying to, hack it through to get enough hours to get into the airlines, and I'm sitting here like, well, I'm paying my own way through college, so what's this in for me?
Well, that time was, I don't remember flying a bunch at that time in my life, but what were there just pilots, less people flying and less? I
really don't know. I mean, just in general, things were slow.
Right, just slow.
I from what I see on social media nowadays with UND Aviation, it's like the airlines are actively seeking out pilots. They're doing job fairs every other week, I swear. And back when I was in school, it was like, if you didn't have a 4.0 GPA and were trying to be sucked up by the military, you were probably gonna be a flight instructor for another 3 to 5 years
after college.
Yeah.
So what's the process? You graduated high school. You went right to
UND
aviation program.
Yep. I toured a bunch of different schools and then decided on Grand Forks, and
gosh.
Yeah, I know. The rest is just it's kind of a blur because, once I got out of that, it was trying to figure out, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then, I almost transferred back to the U of M, which I know is a cardinal sin, but it was like, well, there's really nothing up here. And then I went for the summer and I was like, okay, well, I'll go to Northland and do drafting and see where that takes me if I go back.
So wait a minute. How long were you in the aviation for? You're like, hell with this.
I did aviation for a year and a half, and then was doing some intro to air traffic control at that time too.
Okay. How long a program is this?
It's 4 years.
It's a 4-year education to be a pilot, commercial airline pilot.
Yep. And that's kind of the other thing too is, we live in North Dakota. We're all aware of what's going on outside right now. So that year especially was bad. So I was like, well, I'm unsure of this, and my flight hours per week are at 3 when they should be at about 12. So you're going to school, and plus you need flight hours. Yeah.
So is it full time, 12, 15, 18 credits, whatever, that type
12,
of thing?
15 average, yeah.
Okay.
And then you're trying to get your flight hours, and it's a great program. It's just I was standing there looking at the reality of the situation, going, okay, is this the wisest move for myself?
So how much does it cost? If you're going to go into the aviation program, what's 1 year cost you?
So I think
I'm sure you're looking at.
I look at my student loans.
You
every
smile
day.
too, I bet, when you see them.
I just chuckle to myself. One day that'll pay off.
You got it, man.
No, I think at the time it was $120K
a year.
Yeah, no, for the whole program.
The whole program. Okay, yep. So you're 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
This podcast is a little bit about unfollow the herd and which can mean a couple of things, entrepreneurship, we talk about real estate, whatever. But the core to this is that you went to college because you liked aviation.
Yep.
I don't know if you were passionate about it. Maybe you were maybe passionate about it year one, but year two kind of lost its luster.
Yep. Yeah, you lose it quick when
The honeymoon phase, I think they call that.
When you start staring at year 2 of your loans, and it's like, well, that was fun, but
Yeah, gotcha.
what's in it for me long term? I mean, now it's
Because you can't have a job. Like, you can't be doing full-time school and 12 hours a week, you said, in flight?
Yeah, I mean, and that's not every week. It depends. You know, you're trying to get between simulator time and flight time, I think, you know, 12 is on the high side, but it's anywhere from, I mean, you shoot for, at minimum, 6-7 hours.
So you could probably work if you wanted to,
You could.
somewhat?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely have a part-time job in there, but it's...
Gotcha. You're all in
it's
on
quite
aviation.
commitment. Yeah, you're in it to win it, so...
Well, we'll talk about your student loans later.
Yeah.
So you rolled into, so how did you roll from all in on aviation to, what did you go into it? You went to a tech school then?
Yeah, so I went to Northland. It's architectural design and drafting. So it was kind of like when I worked at this company down in the cities, there was a great pre-con guy down there. And he kind of led me into this a little bit where he had basically, him and I followed the same path in the end.
Yeah.
And he just went out, went to a tech school, got his drafting deal, and, they do high-end homes. So depending on who it is, they go to an architect or they design with Nate. And, it was kind of nice just, bouncing ideas off of him, because it's like, okay, I'm looking at doing this. Do I go to a 4-year school, or do I just go the tech route, see where it leads me, and then go from there? So, and by the end of the summer, I was like, okay, I'm just going back to Grand Forks. I'm going to go to the tech, just knock this shit out and get it done as quick as I can.
So do you have interest in drafting?
Oh, yeah. Something that,
Just seems like it's kind of like a crazy move, honestly. But
Yeah.
unless you had some interest in it.
it was, I kind of followed him around a little bit for the summer, because what I got down to with a lot of these projects is he was doing a lot of the exterior design almost live as these homes were being built, or if it was a renovation, because they did a lot of, 100-year-old homes in the Minneapolis area.
Okay.
So it was a lot of design as you go, which I laugh about in the hindsight, because I do the same thing sometimes. And, the more we got into it and, viewing different projects with him, it's like, okay, this is something I'm really interested in. Like, I should just take this and see where it goes.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's freaking awesome. So you completed this. Did you complete the program?
Yep. So, graduated a couple years later.
What year are we in now? We're probably in 10, 12, 11, 12?
11
Must
or
be 12.
11 or 12. Yeah. Cause I started in 13 and I was working here I graduated while working here.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did. Funny story about that. Jesus, this is a long time ago. I don't think we had an office at all.
No.
I was just a guy that was pouring concrete, I think, at the time, really.
Yeah.
And I was flirting around with Google SketchUp.
Yep.
And I think I met you at Caribou Coffee in my memory.
Yep.
And I don't even know what was I hiring for.
I don't even know.
God, it was something. It was something.
I laugh about this all the time, because I think you had just gotten, you guys had done a few GC jobs prior, but I think you had just landed like your first home, and I think it was like it was like, I don't know, some sort of designer, I think is what you posted for. And I was like, oh, hell, okay. Well,
I found my weakness, and it's Google SketchUp.
I do remember that, because the first few weeks you were proud of these things, and it was, it got the job done. It had dimensions.
When you're a concrete guy, you're pretty proud on anything you can do on a computer. I was decent at spreadsheets, but I was very good at concrete. I liked doing concrete. I wanted to be innovative in the concrete world, which you can't innovate a 2,000-year-old process.
Yeah.
It's rock, sands, and waters, and Little Portland, and there you go. But there was stamped concrete kind of coming out at that time, and more coloring, and it probably wasn't new in 2013, but in North Dakota, things come like 20 years late. So I'm
Yeah.
sure in 1983 it was everywhere else, but it finally hit us.
It was the latest greatest hit in Grand Forks. And yeah.
Or maybe the late 90s. So it was like, okay, we got to do this. So what I would do is part of because I like sales. I kind of like the sales process, but always the wives like, they had to spend 5-10 grand on a patio. Could be a lot for some people. So I was like, you know what? I can take this a step further and draft it out in 3D, which was cool. Like Google SketchUp.
Yep.
I think it was free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You could just download it. I'd draw the back of their house and draw some curves. And, you know, my dad used to just lay down the old garden hose and spray her out and then tell them how much it would cost. And then, you know, I just seemed to think that there was a better method.
Yeah.
Like Google SketchUp. And I think we did that process for a while. I think
we did for way too many years.
yeah. I think we came on. So thank God you're here. Cause, at that point I needed a designer. I was like, geez, I think I like compared my drawing to someone else's drawing. I'm like, geez, this could be a lot better if I just like had someone that knew how to do drafting. And I didn't enjoy it. Like I was doing it at night, you know, of course I'm doing everything at night, all my bidding and sales. And then during the day I'm pouring concrete. So that was the process. But yeah, I remember meeting at the old Caribou Coffee and then, designer, and you were at school still.
Yep. Yeah.
And you were working out of my office.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your fond early memories of this?
Oh, let's see.
There's got to be something that sticks out. There's gonna be a good story about.
Oh,
this.
there's a couple. Well, I mean, moving into
wait, they say make it happen. That's literally the only reason we're here right now because I did a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing.
I mean, I think it was like a week after, because you guys were just moving into your house, I think, when I had started. But I think, you know, between concrete pouring and random, you know, you showing me the random ways you were estimating and whatnot at that time, like the first week was like, so where are we going to work out of? I'm like, it's not really a question that, you know, I ever thought I'd be asked. But I mean,
I employed a guy and asked him where he's going to work. Where do you want to work?
Yeah. I mean,
I got a big TV at my house. You want to hook up your laptop to that?
Yep. Yeah. That's kind of how it was for about the first week. And then, we started at Stone's, back of Stone's mobile radio. So that
yeah. Thank God for my father-in-law. Hooked me up with a little,
that was a
little office space in the corner.
Yep. Yeah. Our office was like maybe 100 square feet.
Yeah. It was like a laboratory room. Like it was.
Yeah. I don't even know what it was designed for, but I mean, it worked.
It wasn't for us. And we're like bringing customers back. Like, here, just come through this weird shop. And like, we're just kind of back there in the corner.
Yep. Just walk through the, you know.
Yeah. It's probably a proud moment though. We had an office.
I mean, it was cool.
If we called that an office.
Yeah, it was something. We had a place to drop.
Yeah. Life was simple.
Yeah.
We did a few different moves and your job kind of always stayed consistent though.
Yeah. I mean, there was, you know, pretty much pre-construction based most of the time. There was a little PM work in there the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And
yep.
The dividing of, we used to divide our concrete crews out.
Oh yeah.
So everybody picked a crew and then that's who you.
Yeah. You just call the office team when you had a pour and then everyone comes out and pours. Doesn't matter if you're Chelsea, if you're Zach, hey, there's a pour at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
We're going to need everyone on the wheelbarrows. So you just knew if you're going to work in the office that you're going to help get the mud laid down and then you can go back to doing your job.
Yep.
And let the 3 other guys figure out the concrete, getting it laid down nice. Yeah, I do remember that. Always got to be helpful, make it happen, I think is what our motto was. We had a pretty small group.
Yeah, I mean.
And we thought homes were like the next big ticket for us. Like we were going to make it in the home world.
Yep.
Didn't happen that way.
No.
It was homes can be hard, I think, because of, you're like married to whoever you're building a house for. It could be 6-9 months and you make 30 grand on the deal. And it's like, that was painful.
Well, you know, it's just, I think it's not what we did. It was not
right.
If it's your sole focus, but it's like, I think back to then, it's like, well, our sole focus was still concrete at that point. You know?
Right. Yeah.
50% of your energy was always devoted to the concrete world that day, you know. each and every day. So
I feel like that always is still for us, but
yeah,
that brings in a good point. Like whatever you can focus on and find niche, because I think we found at some point we were starting to really do it all.
Yeah.
And spread our horizons almost thinned us out, and we weren't making, you can't make money that way.
No, you're just focused on too many different things. You
Right.
know, it's like, yeah, we were building homes, doing patios, trying to get into commercial concrete, slowly taking on random, you know, larger GC projects. You know, we had our little steel
Steel crew.
steel crew for a
Yeah, we
minute.
were getting diversified.
And it was just, simplification and really dialing in, I think, is what helped us.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember at some point it's like, all right, we can't be this. We got to get laser focused on a couple things. And we got down to like, we're going to general contract and we're going to manage concrete projects and operate concrete projects. And I think that was a good move.
Yeah.
Made life a lot simpler for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so any key contractor out there, don't be the jack of all trades and the master of none, because your profit margin will be none. So, yeah, well, that's good. So, you know, that kind of leads us up into today's world of what we're doing now, and things still remain consistent. We're trying to move big places. We're trying to do more things in the general contracting world and just get really niched and really well.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to, you know, really dial that in. You know, we're finding our focus, and, you know, we're at the point where we know what we're good at. You know, just starting to branch out into different markets, I think, is kind of our play. So
what's where do we think we're going in the pre-construction world? What's the avenue to get better jobs that are more suited to us? Obviously, you guys are always working on that, and in the development world, and
I mean, in the, you know, the design build phase, or, you know, method of construction, it's, you know, really, unfortunately, with that side, it's a lot of your own resume. You know, it's actually completing jobs and getting up to that point to where you start getting those phone calls like we're finally starting to see, is where it does, you know, a lot of times the project will still go out to public bidding, but the architect is reaching out to you 2-3 days prior saying, hey, this is something I think is up your alley.
architects reaching out to you.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And it's kind of nice to see, because, you know, they've seen us and they've seen our work now to where they know, like, oh, you know, MAK Construction, this is something that they've done something similar for another architect. Like, you know, I'm sure they vet you a little bit before people know enough about us to where, you know a little bit of our history typically when they reach out.
Right.
And it's nice to see. It's, you know, something that we've never had in the past. So it's like, yeah, I know potentially there's 5 guys, but, well, obviously they're calling you for a reason. So it's, you know, it's something worth it.
Yeah, and it takes a little while to build the trust with the architects, and those really are the biggest job leads. You know, you can get customers that come in your door as well, but almost, because we're trying to work through CMAR now, which is a little bit different than just general contracting.
Yeah, and you know, so CMAR is construction manager at risk, and that's something where, again, your resume really represents, you know, before you're even at the table of, you know, so typically that process is it's called an RFQ, request for qualifications. So, I mean, you are sending out, basically, it is your resume to either the owner, the owner's rep. Sometimes they are already working with an architect.
Okay.
And that's where, you know, they select you to basically complete the design or start design in some instances, and really take that project to completion.
So they're vetting you. The architects are reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a 5-year-old company and you're hitting that $5 million threshold ceiling, you know, where you're still kind of doing everything, you know, what's your best advice to that guy at that pre-construction level? Because I think we hit different levels, right? Like,
yeah, you do.
5 million, 10 million, 20 million.
You plateau at different points, and it depends on who you are as a company. And, you know, part of what I think helped us is we did go through that growth phase where we were always trying to look for different avenues of revenue. And I think it helped us build a little faster.
Sure.
You know, we also had a little development in there as well to, get that revenue up.
Yeah.
And really, be able to showcase what we can do privately. In the public world, if you're out there bidding, I hate to say it sometimes, but getting aggressive, if you find yourself plateauing, find a project that you can complete well, and just, you hate to say buy some projects, but be very aggressive with it and take it and then just absolutely knock it out of the park and show what you can do.
Gotcha.
Because they, architects and engineers, they will recognize that.
So you're buying them?
Hopefully not. Your margins are slimmer, but you look at it as a.
So you're just lowering the margins.
Yeah. So
okay.
you tighten up your margins, and sometimes it takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But we completed a project here, or I guess we are next week, 2-year process, and it's our largest project to date.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
it's something that we have on our back pocket now to say, hey, this is what we can build.
Yeah.
We're more than capable of anything you could throw at us. So
what's the biggest difference? You see some of this management level. Is the bidding level ever any different from a $2 million project versus a $12 million?
So like
in the pre-construction phase, like if I'm a smaller $5 million contractor, I'm doing maybe $1 million. So like a really big job.
Yep.
What's it like at the $10 million level? Is the process any different?
The process is mostly the same. And from our side, it's a lot of, you need to look at it as, because if you go from $1 to a $10 million project, you can scare yourself right out of even looking at that project if you're not thinking about it in terms of scalability. Bids are always higher. It's sometimes scary to look at because it's like, I have an electrical contractor. So normally he's $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Well, now he's 700. Like, oh shit, if he misses something or if I miss something, that's not a small mistake. And, it needs to be in the back of your mind, but it also can't hold you back from getting that job,
Yep.
And that I think was one of my things, as we grew, was learning to trust these subs and, make sure their bid sheet is complete. And that happens just with the size of project as well. If you're building homes, you're probably going to have a 1 sheet of paper bid from a contractor, and it's going to list out 10 items, and that's what you get,
Okay.
If it's $700,000 and, they better have, the entire electrical division, communications, security, so on and so forth. And then, typically it's a 2-3 page deal where inclusions and exclusions is, pretty concise.
Is it any easier from 1 million to 10 million? Do you get, I would imagine you get better contractors, maybe?
You do.
And more refined contractors?
Yeah. So you get the larger contractors who, also have the reputation of, completing projects of that scale. And that's also nice to see because you get the bigger names and, you feel more comfortable with that as well. There is a comfort piece with that. But yeah, and I guess as you grow, one thing I will say just is your first bigger builds you do, don't find something that's incredibly complex. Our largest project to date, almost 10x, from what we would normally do. But, you find contractors where I think we had a total of 10 subs in the whole project.
Yeah.
So it's nice because you're not trying to manage in the pre-construction world. Okay, there's 30 subs, a million different things that you're trying to focus on.
Sure.
Find those guys who will, even bid multiple things for you, kind of wrap it all up into a package deal.
Yeah, bigger, simpler projects are probably fine too. And yeah, because there's rules of thumbs to not do a 3 million and then go do a 12 million. It's just there's error in that because you don't know at the $12 million level, it's just different. And it's managed different. It's communicated different. There's different subs. There's potentially bigger problems if you don't identify them.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the development game because I think that's that's a lot of what we do. And I think you kind of referred to it about how we grow as a company, why we've grown probably a little quicker than most. This was some risks taken on by me and be able to get some loans and, because you got bonding capacities and things you have to deal with. You got to have someone with some kind of money to be able to get a $20 million bond or a $10 million bond and qualify. So, because the development game, we also work, about half our work is development. Is that probably fair to say? If we did
30 to 50%, depending on the year. And,
yep.
And that's one great thing about our company is, we always have that source of revenue to where you can create your own work to a certain degree.
Yep.
Both general contracting and concrete. So it brings a nice complementary piece to the construction side where, I'm not that you can just create a job out of thin air, but there's opportunity there to grow as well. And I think that's where, for us, it was townhomes in the beginning. Buying into a development and just saying, okay, this is a 3 to 5 year play for us. But this is consistent, work of, $1 to $3 million a year. So,
yeah. And I just started figuring out the real estate game, and it's like, wow, we got all the tools here, whether it's design, build, CMAR, manage the project, design it, value engineer it, everything in house. That's why I always tell other developers, it's like, you don't always want to be the contractor side. If honestly, they want to stay on the ownership side, because there's a lot of stuff that's wheeling and dealing, especially through COVID with development, like fluctuations and risks that we're taking as contractors for typically really low margins. And so I think the development game has kept us strong, especially through recessions and things like we're probably facing now. It's like margins are getting squeezed.
Yeah.
Contractors are bidding lower. Well, we need work still to keep our company moving forward and grow. We actually like to grow in recessions.
Yeah.
And so I think the development has helped us give us a niche. And maybe for another contractor out there, I would tell you to get into some kind of real estate, the development, figure out something you can build for yourself. If you have no work this year, like, I don't know what trade you do or if you're general contracting, but like figure out something where you can either team up with another subcontractor or see if you can get something built for yourself and own it for a long time, because you got to build up some net worth. You got to be able to have some bonding capacities to keep growing in the bid world.
Oh yeah. And that's just it. You don't need to start with, thinking, have the mindset of where you need to go out. And if you're a $2 million a year company, don't try to go out and, have your first project be $500,000. Start something small. It could be anything. Just to get into that mindset and, start refining that process a little bit. I mean, hell, when we first started, it was like, there was no process. There was, we thought of it, it took even probably 2 years for, your brain to really switch over into a real estate perspective.
Yeah. It's the push and pull of interest rates versus costs. Costs have to come down, but costs rise and interest rates rise at the same time. It's an interesting moment that we're in right now, but I've known this for the last few years. I've educated myself a lot in how to get these projects to work and get things off the ground so our construction company can continue to work in that world. And hopefully we can help other developers as well. Like, it's not just us. It's, we just have built the machine that can make a project come to life now, which we're pretty proud of. So, but yeah, if you have any CMAR or development work, which is basically us representing the buffer between the owner and the architect and contractor and all the subs, like, we can definitely help you in that range. Like, Zach has brought multiple projects where he is the only representation for the owner, and we control the architect, we control the contractors, we control the whole bid. So you as an owner don't get confused about going to hire a big architect that all of a sudden drafts this project that's way over budget. You never seen that before, Zach. No. All the bells and whistles. You drew a Cadillac, we need a Kia. Yeah. And so, because the Kias perform on paper and the Cadillacs won't perform on paper.
Unfortunately, don't ever go.
Yeah. Like we always want the Cadillac, but we end up with the Kia in the. So you have to understand the whole process through. And I think it's so important when you're in the contracting world, because there's value engineering. There's all these things that we do on the back end to make sure the architect's on the same page as the contractor, because we know where pricing's coming in. And we want a project to move forward. We don't want to get to a project all of a sudden it's way overpriced and now we can't do anything and now we need to build a Kia instead. And, so hopefully, some of you guys out there can find value with this. And if you have a project that you're thinking about in rental or whatever, we can provide a ton of value for you. So you miss all the mistakes out there, because there's plenty of mistakes that we've made along the way, Zach.
Oh, yeah.
And we learn and we try to grow from them and make new processes to just help mitigate those. And so we don't want anyone out there making the mistakes themselves. But Zach, I got a couple more questions for you and we're going to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
So, and I've asked most of the people this in the podcast, I've been missing these questions, but in a 5-year area, where do you envision yourself? So, and this can be personally, business wise, things, whatever, but where do you envision yourself 5 years from today?
That's a question that, I kind of review almost yearly. And I think what I'd like to be at is, kind of refine, I like the pre-construction side. Yeah. That's my thing. I know that's my thing.
Yeah.
Really have that honed in and being able to run multiple, I hate to say it like divisions, but we have our general contracting, and then obviously development's a piece of that, but almost separation of those, and just have one thing, one side focused on running design bid build or CMAR, and then the other solely focused on development. I personally like development more, so I guess that's where my brain goes to getting into that.
For sure. For sure. How about personally?
Personally, whether
it's a 5-year dream.
Yeah. Build a house, and for sure, my wife and I joke about that almost daily now, but
good.
But kind of going back to where we went beginning, renew my pilot's license, get that going. That's one thing.
Here we go.
I do want to do that again. That's one thing that's been removed for a while. That's a goal of mine here, and it's been for a while. But realistically, in the next 5 years, have that renewed and at least partial ownership of a plane to jump back and forth.
Well, here's the bet. Then I want the plane too. That'd be a good 5-year goal.
I know you do. Yeah.
I don't want to fly it though. I don't want anything to do with flying it. But let's do some developments and get the plane. It's like maybe that's the 5-year window. That's the dream outcome. I'll have to hang a plane somewhere in this office.
Stare at it every day. And
yeah. We just need to figure out how to make developments less and find our niche, because we'll figure that out and then buy the plane. I like that. Yeah. One last question. What does unfollow the herd mean to you?
I've heard it a lot from you in the last couple of weeks, and I've thought about it a little bit, just because it's like, if that's our, it's a new saying for me at least. So it's not, it's trying to find the, I hate to say it, not path of least resistance, but new avenues where everybody, you always know the safe play. What's the brainstorming crazy ass idea that, or the least crazy of those crazy ass ideas?
Yeah, that's probably a fair way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know a good way to say that, but
what's the safest crazy ass idea you got in your brain right now?
Oh,
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just be unique. It's not. We all know what is comfortable and makes sense, and the logical piece of it. Mm-hmm. But what's going to have the greatest return, and what is going to, both professionally, personally, however you want to look at that. But if you're, just as an example, if you're an average runner and you comfortably can win a 10K, well, go shoot to run a marathon and, complete it in whatever time. Think of a PR that you could hit, and now decrease it by 30 minutes.
Oh,
don't decrease it by an hour, because that's probably going to kill you. But, just be different, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, hey, I love that. Be unique. I think that's really what unfollow the herd means. Take your own path, right?
Yeah.
And well, Zach, I appreciate your 10 years of service here at MAK Construction too. That's awesome. And the longest running MAK Construction guy on the where do they find you if they got pre-construction questions?
You can reach out on my email. It's just zach@makconstructiongf.com or call our office 701-330-8196.
Look at that. You can call them.
Call us up and
call them. Ask them a question.
Any questions you guys have, any projects you're thinking of, let me know. We can try and figure out something for you.
Yeah. Appreciate you all. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one.